Um, I have a document prepared. I'm not quite able to actually hold on. All right, here we go. And yeah, I have a picture here. There it goes. Okay. So yeah, this is really important stuff. I mean, anything with chords is important, and it's something I mentioned a couple of times, but I never actually produced, to my memory at least, like an actual diagram for any of it. So it's just taking, we're gonna take a C7 chord, just a regular dominant C7. Now, for a C7 chord, it has 4 notes in it. It has a 1, a 3, a 5, a flat 7. Okay, and for C7, that comes out to C, E, G, B flat. C, E, G, B flat. That's a C7 chord. So the most common form that you in any like beginner guitar book is going to be like this. And sure enough, we have a, like, going from the 5th string. That's a C. That's an E. That's a B flat. That's a another C there. There's an E on top, and the G, you may see it up there, but that's a really common way of seeing it right there. It's just like that. So the first grouping is going to be using voicings all on the top 4 strings. Just I just love voicings that use just the top 4 strings. They're very common in styles of music. I use these probably more than any other chord overall. Now, these aren't inversions. That's really important. I'll talk about actual inversions at some point. Inversions is where you have the notes in kind of like a sequential order, like C, E, G, B flat. You know, that's going up the scale. C, E, G, B flat. And then for an inversion, you take the lowest note, then you put it on top. So then you would have like a E, a G, a B flat, and a C. And then if you do an inversion, you're taking that note off the bottom 2 and putting it on top. So you have like a G, a B flat, a C, and an E. That's how inversions work. That's not what these are. These are just different voicings going up the top 4 strings. And so the first one is actually close to that first chord I talked about that you see in guitar books and stuff like that, but it's leaving out the C there. We're not playing that string for any of these 4 chords. So we have this voicing here. We have our 2nd fret, 3rd fret, 1st fret, 3rd fret. And those notes are E, B flat, C, and G. So for this one, the root note is the C, and it's on the 2nd string. Now we're going up here to our next voicing, and our next voicing is going to be like this. So here we have, excuse me, from the 4th string, 5, 5, 5, 6. So yeah, I'm holding everything down there. I'm just barring on the 1st string, and then I'm adding the 6 on the top string. So these notes are G, C, E, and B flat is on top. So here the C, the root note, excuse me, is on the 3rd string. So first we had this one, which was 2, 3, 1, 3. Next up we have 5, 5, 5, 6. Next one is up here. This one is like the top of a actual C7 bar chord, which is just that one there. So everybody knows the 7th chord, bar chord. Like just taking the bar bottom string. It's 8, 10, 8, 9, 8, 8. Remove the bottom two strings here, and you get this. You have 8, 9, 8, and 8. And again, I am just using the first string to bar still, even though we're not doing the full bar chord. So it's kind of like a bar chord, I guess, but just not one that you normally see. And you know, like rock, pop, that kind of stuff, blues, whatever. These are more jazz voicings, which is why I love them. Plus, they're just great. So that was our third one. The notes here are B flat, E, then we have a G, then we have a C. Scale degrees would be the flat sevens on the bottom, then a 3, then a 5, then a 1. Here the C is on the first string, so our root note is on the first string. So far we have that, and we have that, and then we have that. The last one here is going up here on, this time the C is on the fourth string. So that's our root note on 10 there, okay? 10, 12, 11, 12. You may or may not know a major 7 chord voicing like this. I'm just jumping down to the 5th string through the 2nd string just for this example, because the quality of the shape changes because we're crossing over the 2nd string, like into the 3rd string. So this is the same thing. Like if I'm starting on the 5th string here, we have a 10, 12, 11, 12. It's a major 7. So if you already know that shape, you just move it up 1 string like that. And this is the C7. Scale degrees being a 1, a 5, flat 7, 3. Notes being C, G, B flat. So we have this, and listen to all 4 of them now, and you can hear how they all have the same sound, which is C7. But the notes are all arranged in different orders, but they still have that same C7 sound, which is really cool. Okay, so the one was like this. I just played it. What did I just play? I think I just played an F7 there. Okay, so first one was here. Next one. Okay, next one. And last one. Keep wanting to do F7 there for some reason. Okay, so here, we would get back to where we started, because if we wanted to keep going, we're up into our next octave now. So you can take what we did down here, the very first one we started with, move that an octave higher, and then you can repeat. So here you would have same thing, going from the 4th string, 2, 3, 1, 3. But now we're doing 14, 14, 15, 13, 15. And you can octave. Same thing. Our next one would be like this. We take that an octave higher up to 17 and 18. Here it starts getting a little bit harder to bar, at least. I would probably do it like this, even though this is still an awkward chord. I think something like that may be your best choice. Also on like a Stratocaster style, so with a double cutaway, it's a lot easier to get up there. The third one was here, and you could play that up here. You would be on frets 20 and 21, which, I don't know, maybe you can get up there. No, not on this thing. Well, almost. But that's just kind of repeating those same shapes into the next octave. So that is taking just a C7 chord and playing it in a bunch of different ways. And again, the whole point of this is these ones just on the top 4 strings. And now you see there's no open strings in here, just like any other chords, these are portable. You could do in different keys if you want to do everything. Say you wanted to do a D7 chord instead of a C7. Well, you just go back to where we started here. And our root note, instead of doing C, we're doing D. So everything's going to be 2 frets higher. So here's a D7. Also on this one, you can actually go lower, by the way, but I'll do that one later. Okay, so just starting from where we were, like here was the C7, now we do D7. So everything's going to be just 2 frets higher, a whole step higher. So D7. Okay, here's one. Okay, here's one. Okay, here's one. This is what I was just talking about down there, because look at what frets I'm on here. I'm on frets 12, 13, and 14. So if you jump that down an octave, like this, 0, 2, 1, 2, and I believe if you look in, most normal learn to play guitar, chances are it's going to tell you to do a D7 like this, 0, 2, 1, 2. So that's kind of cool because that allows us to play the same sort of a thing, but an octave lower than we would have been able to do with the C, just because we don't have enough frets to go lower. So that D7, you could extend it, it would be like this. And you're going to run out of frets up here. Wrong one. All right. So it works the same way if you want to do like if you want to do E7 chords. Okay, well we just take what we were doing, and instead we're just moving everything up one. If you're going like from C to E, then everything would be 2 whole steps or 4 frets higher. So you would start here. That would be the first one. The second one would be, then we have. I can kind of get that one, but the intonation is really out right now. And you can go lower with the E too. You could actually go 2 lower because you would have this. E7, E7. Just because just moving everything up 2 frets, going from, 2 steps from C to E, you have a lot more room because if we started with the E7 here in the same shape that we started with the C7 there, it's not kind of like with the D, we had room to go back down to the one before it, which with the E7 is like this. But now we actually have room to go down even further to the one before it, which would be like this. It'd be open 4th string, excuse me, 1st fret, 3rd string, open, open. I should probably just stop going for that one. But there, you see the same thing, just taking the exact same pattern, the same shape, and just moving it around depending on what key we want to play that in. So if you get really good at doing just the C7 chords, which is a refresher, was this one. Then we had this one. Then we had this one. Then we had this one. That's the 4 that I put in the diagram, but again, you can go higher too if you want to repeat into the next octave. Where is it? There it is. And then, if you just get really good at that C7, then you practice playing it in different keys, and then what you're realistically doing is you're learning all 12 7 chords, like just dominant 7 chords in every key, all 12 keys, in 4 different positions, all the way up and down the neck. And that's kind of that's good right there. And just I guess the best advice I have for something like this is, I mean, it's not part of just memorizing the shapes is looking at where the root note is. It's memorization for me to know that when I'm doing the one where the root note is on the second string, like where we're starting here, that the shape just kind of looks like this. But for the next one, this one, the way that I remember where this one is going to be is I'm looking at the note that's on the first string. Now, that's a B flat on the first string. What I do is I look and I know that when I'm playing this shape, the root note is going to be 2 frets higher than what my note on the first string is. So when I'm thinking of A7, I'm playing this, and I know that the B flat is going to be a whole step away from where C is. So I know that if I take the C and I go down like that, down a whole step, and then do the rest of the shape, that I know that that is the proper voicing for, or I guess the proper position for this voicing. Okay. So if I'm doing like an E7, what I do is I know that's an E there. So what I do is I look at the D, and then I know that for the rest of that chord, I have to go 1 fret lower and then bar across it. So that's how I know if I want to do that E7. That's typically what I use to guide me there. If you want to do like a G7, a G right there on 15, then what I'm doing is I'm looking at 13 and I'm looking at barring on 12, because I know that that 13 is a whole step below the G, which is on 15. This shape, I'm back to C7 now. This was the first, second one I talked about, the one that's actually kind of a bar chord. This one's easy because you know that the root note for this one is on the first string. So it's just a matter of knowing that it's this shape. The shape is not hard to remember. Like if you're going from the top string, it's like 8, 8, 9, 8. Just knowing, starting that from 8. This is one is just remembering what the root note is on the first string, which is really easy. And the last one, I know it's kind of just taking the shape. And again, this one's also really just kind of memorizing what the root note is. In this case, I know that the C is right here on 10. And I know that for this particular voicing, that you just kind of attach that shape to it. It's always easier, it seems, to remember when the root note is kind of like your lowest note, and you build off of it, going higher. I guess you can say the same for starting with your root note being highest lower, but still, just knowing that the root note is on the 4th string here, then the rest of the shape is like that. So I mean, that's kind of, I know that's not, I don't know. I mean, like, sadly, I can't think of any more specific, helpful ways to memorize, like any kind of tools, really. I mean, it is more of just getting comfortable with the shapes, knowing where the root note is for each vocal, and how you build the rest of the chord around it. Some of them, as I was saying, though, like this one, it does get a little bit easier just remembering that you're going from where the root note would be, going lower by a whole step and going like that. So that was the first one. Second one was like this. Third one was like this. Fourth one was like this. And again, just go to just a regular, like a C7 arpeggio, okay? I'm going to have where it be there. Yeah, it gets tricky up there, but you can just keep that 7th chord arpeggio sound in mind, and you can really hear how you are doing a 7th chord. And each of those, they all sound different, but they all sound the same too. And that's what's awesome about guitar. It's an instrument where you can play multiple things in different positions. And now, because these are all 7th chords, they're all the same C7th chord. They're interchangeable. You know, if you're using them in progression, say you're doing something that has like a G, like a C. How about just like G to C7? Going back to just that basic C7 shape that everybody learns, probably before they learn any other C7 shape, if they ever do learn any other C7 shape, but just that one there. So listen to the G to the C7. I'm going to switch, I'm going to do the G like this, just so I don't have to have the two bass cluttering each other up. So I'm just doing a G major like this, which is like an F, but up here. Again, it's all on the 4 strings, but the top 4 strings, G, C7. I'm going to start substituting the different C7 shapes for that one there, and you can hear how they all work the same way. They all sound good. I did say I wasn't going to do those ones any higher. So I should probably stick by that. I'll do that again. I'm going to add a D to the end of it just to give it the whole progression a little more flavor. So just something like that, I guess. Just G. So like a C7, a D, back to G. Okay. So for something like that, just as a side note, I would adjust the other chords as well too, because this sort of approach with the positions for dominant chords on the top 4 strings. It's not just for dominant chords; it works with all of them. You know, like you do it with like major 7 chords, like say like a G. Change that into like a G major 7. Okay, so maybe just something like this. Sure, why not? Now, if you're just arranging them on the top 4 strings, it works the same way too. So a G major 7 is like this. It's almost like that. Let's try this. The next one is like that. And then we have, I haven't played these in a long time. Yes, G7, major 7. That is It's been a long time, but it works the same way. Maybe minor 7s. I will have better luck with the memory, something like that. That's like a F minor 7. Then there's or not. F minor 7. Yeah, I don't remember them, but the point is, it really does work that way. The different voicings go up and down the neck, just like with the C7s. So with something like the G major, like a lot of times, what I would do is, if I'm doing this G major, let's say I want to do this C7 along with it. there's enough in the location, and the pitches and the individual notes are similar enough to where they complement each other really well. But say I knew that I wanted to do the C7 next. I want to do the next voicing of the C7 up here. I'm not necessarily going to want to use that same G. It sounds fine. Again, it sounds fine. And then you can get some sliding in there too if you were doing that voicing, you know, like a. But say I wanted to use a different voicing of the G major that kind of better suits that one. Well, I could do like this. This is G major. Again, it's more similar in position, a little more similar in pitch. The kind of like the intervals, like the individual intervals, and kind of just like the space between them, and just kind of like the direction in between them is more similar to. Not as similar as, say, we're doing something like this, like a G here, doing the G major here, and then there's another C7 shape I'm going to talk about in a minute here. The C7 like this, which is very similar. You can see it looks a lot like G major. And they complement each other well. What if we were doing like the, what's the next, the C7 like this? I want to do like a G major that's close to that. Well, we can do like this. You could do, go back to, I'm going to go back to this C7 like that, and you can do this G here, which is a lot, it's like the D major, but up here. You hear there's something similar going on within the intervals, and what you're hearing is you're hearing the movement of like the first string. On the first string going down, basically, just to put it simply. Because everything is really going down, but I personally, what stands out the most to my ear is hearing that going down to that. Or going down to that. Not only that, but it puts the two, the highest pitch on chord at only a half step apart, so it actually builds a little bit of tension in there too. Now, before that, I did this one, and I did, and then I did, which one did I do along with this? I did that, and I did like that. Let's change the G chord on this one to maybe like this, okay? This is a G chord, major chord. You could do it like this, which is the bar chord. But, okay, so basically if I do it like this now, doing a G major like this, to this one here. So we have the sound of the note on the top string, or the highest pitch, going down. There's most likely a way to do that even better. Say we do the G, doing the G major like this maybe, which is like the G bar chord from the start from the 5th string. You know that one there. I'm sorry, yeah, 10, 12, 12, 12, 10. Well, I'm leaving out the 5th string still, so doing 10, 10, or 12, 10. And then going to this C7. You still have the higher note going down to the lower note, and that really stands out. if we want to do it backward and have the sound of the note on the top string going higher, well, say we started with, let's go back to, how about, so we're going to do the G major first, and then we're doing the C7. That's what we've been doing. Now, what voicing of G major can we do for this? Well, yeah, actually, let's go to this one. So this is a G major right here. Now, our top note is there. Now, it's a B. So we want the highest note to go higher from the first chord to the second chord, opposite of what we were just doing before. So if we have, that's the 7th fret there. Going into this C7 shape, where the highest that is the C, which is on the 8th fret. So you have da, 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 da. So if we did, going back to doing a G major, let's do it like, if you do it like this, then I can do that C7 shape there, because we have the highest note there, and then we have the highest note going up to, where's that? There. And that one's cool too, because it adds in a minor third interval. You could even do, if you want to start doing really more funky G major chords, that's where you could use this general voicing, but then have the highest note down. But that is a very, very tough way to do a G major chord. You're probably never going to do. What I'm doing is I'm adding instead of having the root note here along with the 4th string, I'm replacing that copy of the note with a major third, which is the same thing as the B there. It's a very big stretch, hard to do. Do that, you can play that shape, and if you want to have your highest note go lower in pitch, then you can go right to that one. Or if you wanted to do that and have the highest note go higher in pitch, then you could do that one. So the point is that choosing when to each of these voicings, you have a lot of options, and some of them work in better places, or some of them work in certain places better than others. They're all going to sound good, because you're still in G major to C7. That's always going to sound good, but some of them complement each other better. So yeah, I did post the diagram here, but I never learned, and I forgot that I should have posted this on the other computer first. So it is there. I mean, you probably see it. I mean, but there's 2 fretboard diagrams there. The first one is, as I was just talking about, and the second one, just because I did 4, I knew that I was going to be talking about 4 voicings on the top strings. Just there's a certain point to these 4. It's just, and that is just using them all on the top 4th strings and rearranging them, going up and down the neck, really help you learn a lot. I mean, your chords much more thoroughly. Again, you're just by learning that position, just by learning the C7s, then you know how to do the C7 and these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like 6, 7 different ways going up the neck, all on the same strings. And if you do that with every key, then you're really in good shape. So you get a lot out of it, and it also helps to look at them because of the groupings, the way that they really are kind of grouped in different. The notes are all clustered together, kind of in terms of distance, fret-wise distance, and you can just make a really clear diagram with them, like I did color-coded. You can easily see which ones are in which position. So I knew I was going to do that. So then I just started playing around, and I just found some weird C7 voicings also. These ones are not, there's no kind of guidelines to them. They're not following any kind of repeating pattern. They just happen to be 4 additional C7 voicings that I found that were kind of interesting sounding. So these are really jumbled up, but again, they're color coded, so you should be able to work out the voicings pretty easily. So let's see. The first thing I'm going to talk about is the ones that are inside the green dots, because I already mentioned this chord earlier, just really, really recently, a couple of minutes ago, and that was doing a C7 voicing like this. Now this one is on the 4 strings, but that's just, it just happens to be that way. This is connected to the first 4 chords at all. So this is the one that was in root position, meaning we have a C, we have a E, we have a G, and we have a B flat, going 1, 3, 5, flat 7 in order. That's what root position means. A bit of a stretch here, and I like this one too because for stretching, you want to be able to stretch kind of with your first finger on a high string and your pinky on a lower string, and you want to be able to do that the other way too. Have your pinky on a higher string and your finger on the lower string. So I find that doing this sort of a grouping, where the first finger is on the high string and the pinky's on the lower string, but you're stretching, to be one that I do less often. So it's good to talk about this because this feels a lot different than that, say, where I'm just kind of reversing what So this is a C7 right here. Our notes are C, E, G, B flat. Yeah, that's the one in the second diagram, green dots. All right, let's look at the ones in the blue dots. These, I mean, these sound funky, but they sound cool at the same time. So one in the blue dots, these are getting to be really uncomfortable if you're going to try to play them. Okay. So okay. Now what we have next, the blue dots. So the lowest one is a B flat in the bottom string, 6th fret. Did I put that in the wrong place? I think I did. All right, I'm gonna have to fix that one. But what it's supposed to say is, yeah, the B flat on each. I have those on the 7th fret. They're supposed to be down here on the 6th fret. Uh-oh. All right, so I'll fix that. But so going by what the blue dots are, so the E is supposed to be on the 7th fret. I have it on the 8th. The B flat is supposed to be on the 6th fret. I have it on the 7th. Now, what else do we have? We have a C way up here, 5th fret, 3rd string. That one's right. And the G that I have up there is 1 fret off. Wow, that one's off. All right, so what it's supposed to be is doing the B flat here, the E here, the C here, and the G here. Really cool sounding chord, and even though it has the 2 notes in the bass, every now and then I like stuff like this just because it just sounds so interesting the way that it resonates. We're starting on the flat 7 for starters, and then we have the E. Now this is a tritone, interval of a augmented 4th, a sharp 4th. To start your chord, you have that on the bottom, which is really weird. 4th string, there's nothing on it. The 3rd string is the C. The 2nd string is the G. So what I'm doing, I'm holding down, the 6th here. I'm holding down that one there. The 4th string being muted, it's touching the back of my ring finger just a little bit, but it's also touching my first finger a little bit, so it's you know, very, very much muted. And the first one, the first string, which we're also not trying to sound, is touching my first finger. So you can hear, you hear that one, you hear this one, you don't hear, you hear that one, you hear that one, you don't hear that one. Even that intricate sort of muting can be tough. There's just very, the angles that you have to put your fingers at, it's really nuanced, very precise. But that doesn't mean that it's super duper hard. It's just maybe a chord that'll take you a long time to get the hang of, which you should anyway for something like that. I mean, if you start playing chords like this, then you're really setting yourself up to play, you know, lots of really cool, advanced, complicated chords later on. But that was the one in the blue circles, kind of. It badly needs to be fixed. Let's see how bad I screwed up the last one, the ones that are in the kind of like the yellowish sort of circles. So again, the first two notes are off by a fret. This one is supposed to go this B flat. We have that same funky lower section of the chord, starting with the B flat, the tritone there, the E, and then we have, going up onto our next string, we're going to be holding down the G there on the 5th fret and the C there on the 5th fret. This. Also very cool sounding. Now with this one, also, I'm not using my pinky. It's not hard doing this chord voicing. It's not, there's no strain at all, and I feel like I have a lot of room to actually maneuver the pinky here without having any trouble. So you could actually start adding in notes on top too, like adding a C at the top. Or you can put a D at the top. You could really kind of quickly take the B flat from there, it's swing all the way around and put that up on top. I really like the sound of that one too. So those irregular C7 voicings again are starting from the ones in the green circles are the root position, C, E, G, B flat. The frets are 10, 9, 8, 6. Scale degrees are 1, 3, 5, flat 7. Next one, the one in the red dots. C on the string, and then we have an E on the 5th string. 8, 5. Next one we have our G, which is here on the 4th string, 5th fret, and then the B flat is way up there on the 1st string. Actually, I think I forgot to talk about this one the last time through. Now, yeah, this one is going to be tricky. But you could just kind of, I guess that's kind of like what I was just talking about before, just kind of taking this and then adding the B flat to the top. I guess that's really all I was kind of doing, because other than that, you would, if you're just doing the strings that I have marked down there in the red circles, you would have your 6th string, 5th string, 4th string, nothing on the 3rd, nothing on the 2nd, and then a B flat all the way up there. So you would have to pick around them, or find some way to mute it. You're going to be in for a bad time, though. I think if you waste a lot of time trying to figure out how to mute the 2nd and the 3rd string while having your 1st finger holding down the 4th string there. But still, it's something to think about. That is why it is labeled as irregular. Yeah, I can't even do it. But that's okay. Then next up, let's look at the ones in the blue, the one that's really bad. So this one is supposed to say this. It's supposed to say 6, 7, skip 5, and then up to 8. What I'm doing there is I'm kind of like pivoting a little bit and getting my fingers away from the first string, which is normally muted. And if you can hit that open, then you have an E, which is your third one of the notes in a C7. So you're not actually playing the wrong note if you do that. I'm not sure how well it's going to work for you if you're even want to try it. But again, it's important to know that you can. That's one way that you can do it. So that was 6, 7, 5, and 8. And again, I'm going to fix this after the video's done. And the last one starts the same way: 6, 7, then 5, 5. Just kind of riffing around like a little modification of that one, getting rid of the B flat and kind of putting the C back as our lowest note. And because I removed the B flat, I started putting it up on top instead. So you take away a C, but you add a C somewhere else. Then since you took away a B flat, you add a B flat somewhere else. That's what I was doing there. But that is a good study of just doing that C7th voicing all over the place. So I'll just go back and cover those real quick. So yeah, this is just a bunch of playing just a normal C dominant chord, C7. And the idea is to play it in different positions using only your top 4 strings, doing all the different voicings, which were like this. And try not to do the F7 that I keep on doing every time I go back to the beginning. And try not to do the F7 an octave higher when you go back to the beginning. And that we're not doing inversions here. We're just doing different voicings. I'll talk about inversions real soon, maybe even tomorrow. But yeah, I'm going to redo that diagram. But this is all really, really, really important stuff. This is probably some of the most important stuff that you can do. Because chords are just more, I mean, other than, chords are made of intervals. But after intervals, chords they've got to be the most important thing. So there you have it, a whole bunch of C7s. I hope you learned something.